Welcome to my studio. Now, it's been quite a week. My husband's fallen so often this week I've lost count. But I've had my art and my journaling, and my friends who are interested, and that's, well, what keeps me sane, I guess. And I do a lot of positive affirmations. I use smiling as a technique. So one of my artworks in my journal opens with one of the carers here. She always comes into the room with a smile, which always makes me and my husband feel great. So I have utilised her. That's what I'm painting here in watercolours. So this is my line and wash journal predominantly. And I'm working on the Fabriano Artistico watercolour paper, which is going into these hand-bound journals. I'm going to create the artworks first and then bind them in. I've ordered Tomo River paper, which is beautiful for working with fountain pens, and I'll be utilising those. It's a diary, it's a positive attitude journal, it's an art journal, it's what's going to make me feel good. And I'm hoping that you'll be inspired to create something that's right for you too. A lot of changes are happening in my life. I've been here 20 months in this beautiful room, which is an aged care, one of the loveliest homes that you could be in. And I've here because my husband needed to be in care, and we're close that way. And it's still limited in the amount of space. So my beautiful soft pastels kit worth thousands of dollars I have to rehome because I realised I'm much better working in fountain pens and wash. And this type of work in this journal, these small size journals. I'm also doing work for my patrons. The artworks that I'm doing, a lot of times I'm choosing a subject that's something that my patrons would love to have done, and they then can get the digital downloads. I turn it into a meme. This one I'll turn into a smile meme, and I'm also writing out positive quotes about smiling and practicing my writing. So some of these things that you'll see me demonstrate today to do with improving my lettering. It's my capital letters in the English round and copperplate. I'm trying to create and improve. So every time that I can write out my alphabet really nicely, after a lot of practice, I then improve it and make it a little bit more difficult so that the artwork is complemented by writing. I have to laugh because it's taken me all these years to get to where I can do reasonably nice lettering. It's taken a long time and I'm still working on it. It was never a natural thing for me. I was more into the working with a brush. So I have to have this young lady accuses me for making this illustration of her a little bit toothy. I don't mean to insult, but I just sort of felt that it suited the character that I'm trying to create of a young lady smiling, and I rather like the toothy aspect of the grin. I don't try to do the glamour pose. I aim for a little humour if I can get it in my artwork these days. So you can see I've used very simple palette, and I'm using a pure sable brush, a Winsor & Newton. It's a series 7, it's a more costly one. If you can hear a little bit of rattling going on in the background, that's my puppy Tessa playing with a bone. I won't cut that out. I'm using very loose work for the definition of the eyes and the eyebrow. The paper is slightly damp so that when I put down the dark mark it doesn't stay as a hard line. There's a little bit of softening of the edge, and so that's a little trick for not having it look stiff and tight. So with watercolour, if you put your brushwork down, tinted brushwork down onto dry paper, it will have a hard line. If you put it on wet paper, of course, it's going to bleed out. And if you put it down onto semi dry, just damp paper, you'll get a nice soft edge. And that's really nice when you're putting in the feature, the details of the eyes and eyebrows and things like that, where you don't want to have hard edges. Well, you might, but I don't. I like loose, slightly more impressionistic work. I find that the suggestion and leaving a lot to the imagination. It's what I like in art. We all have our preferences. Focusing on the light and shade. You don't have to get all the colours exactly as they are on the subject. You can choose your colour harmony, concentrate on getting your light and shades right, and the subject will fall into place. Well, this week my puppy Tessa has made a new friend, one of the kitchen staff members. She's been taking Tessa out for a day each week, and they've been going down to Lake Dalesford. So Lake Dalesford is starting to appear in my art journal. As said, the carers, my husband will appear quite often, and my puppy Tessa, she's getting put into the journal. And of course I do a lot of diary type writing, and I am using, as I said, inspiration from my patrons, the things that they would be interested in seeing me demonstrate, explaining to them, and also subjects they love. So one of my patrons has actually sent me 2 photographs. I recognised them immediately. I said, "You live in Tasmania," because I've travelled extensively through the years with my husband, and I felt like I recognised the places. And yes, the beach scene, which I'm sure I recognised. She said that's in the east of Tasmania. And the lovely tree fern scene, she said that was on her own property. So I will be painting those, not in this journal session, but in my next one. So there's about 4 paintings I work on in this journaling session. So as I said, it's been a busy week for me. In my previous demonstration, I showed you my Streptocarpus and African violets and the loose, simple, very first journal I did based on them. So I've been working on my garden in here and developing that, planting up about another 5 of my indoor plants, getting some of the the cuttings that I've made take in this room. I've got them into my husband's room so he can enjoy them there. So there's been a bit of gardening going on. I've been working on his veranda today, and Tessa, she's been groomed. Used to do dog clipping and grooming when I was very young. So Tessa's been groomed. She's going to get a little bit of face tidying up with the scissors, and she's going out to the lake tomorrow. And so there's paintings of the lake being done on this one. Swans, ducks in the journal. So the journal is inspired by my life here. Outside that window there's a lot of wildflowers. There's a whole bank that they planted out with wildflowers last year actually, and they're all in flower. So I've painted wildflowers in this particular journaling session.